Welcome to our deep dive into the world of organized crime. Today we'll explore some of the most notorious hotspots around the globe where criminal organizations hold significant power and influence. They're involved in everything from drug trafficking and human trafficking to cybercrime and extortion. It's the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night, so buckle up, because we're about to take a trip around the world, shining a light on the dark underbelly of organized crime. Trust me, you'll want to wash your hands after this one. Let's kick things off in sunny Mexico, a country synonymous with beautiful beaches, delicious food, and unfortunately, some of the most powerful and ruthless drug cartels in the world. We're talking about groups like Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation Cartel. These cartels are running a multi-billion-dollar industry, smuggling drugs into the United States and beyond, and their methods? Let's just say they're not afraid to use a little persuasion. The Mexican government has been trying to crack down on these cartels for years, but it's like playing whack-a-mole with a hydra. You cut off one head, two more grow back, and they're all armed to the teeth. These cartels are a major force to be reckoned with. Next up, we're heading south to Brazil, a country known for its vibrant culture, stunning landscapes, and some of the most overcrowded and dangerous prisons in the world. We're talking about places where gangs like Primeiro Comando de Capital or PCC essentially run the show. They're calling the shots from the inside, coordinating criminal activities outside, and generally making life miserable for anyone who dares to cross them. Imagine a prison where the guards are outnumbered and outgunned, where violence is a daily occurrence, and where escaping is about as likely as finding a decent cup of coffee in a gas station. These gangs aren't just content with ruling the prisons. They've also got their tentacles in everything from drug trafficking and extortion to kidnapping and murder. The Brazilian government is trying to address the issue, but it's a bit like trying to put out a forest fire with a water pistol. It's a complex problem with deep roots. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're heading to Colombia, a country that's no stranger to the drug trade. We're talking about a place where cartels and guerrilla groups, fueled by the seemingly insatiable global demand for cocaine, are locked in a constant battle for control of the drug trade. It's like a real-life game of Risk, but instead of little plastic armies, they're using actual armies, and instead of rolling dice, they're firing bullets. And the Colombian people? They're caught in the middle of this mess. The government's trying to bring things under control, but it's a tough job. It's like trying to herd cats if the cats were heavily armed and really liked cocaine. It's a chaotic and dangerous situation. Now, let's hop on over to Italy, the land of pasta pizza, and organized crime with a history as long as a strand of spaghetti. The mafia practically invented organized crime. We're talking about groups like Cosa Nostra Camorra and 'Ndrangheta. These aren't just your friendly neighborhood mobsters. They're sophisticated criminal enterprises with their fingers in everything from construction and waste disposal to fashion and finance. Imagine a world where you can't even get a decent plate of spaghetti carbonara without paying a little something to the local don. And the Italian government? They're trying to fight back, but it's like trying to get rid of a bad case of garlic breath. No matter how hard you try, it just keeps coming back. Next stop, Russia, a country where the czars may be gone, but organized crime is alive and well, and they've gone digital. We're talking about groups that operate with a level of sophistication that would make even James Bond reach for his vodka martini. They're involved in everything from hacking and cyber espionage to extortion and money laundering. Think of them as the tech-savvy cousin of the traditional mafia. Imagine a world where your online banking information is as secure as a screen door on a submarine, and where your personal data is being traded on the dark web like a pack of Pokemon cards. And the Russian government? Well, let's just say their relationship with organized crime is complicated. It's like that friend who borrows money and never quite gets around to paying you back. Except in this case, the money is the rule of law. Hold on tight, folks, because we're heading to the Balkans, a region with a history as complex and volatile as a Molotov cocktail. We're talking about countries like Albania, Kosovo, and Serbia, where organized crime has filled the power vacuum left by war and instability. These criminal groups are involved in everything from human trafficking and arms smuggling to drug trafficking and money laundering. Imagine a world where borders are just suggestions, where identities are fluid, and where a suitcase full of cash can buy you anything from a fake passport to a human being. It's not exactly the kind of place you'd want to bring your family for a summer vacation. Next stop, China, the world's most populous country, with an economy booming faster than a bullet train and a thriving underworld to match. We're talking about triads, tongs, and other criminal organizations that make the Italian mafia look like a bunch of amateurs playing dress-up. They're involved in everything from counterfeiting and extortion to gambling and human trafficking. And the Chinese government? They're trying to crack down, but it's like trying to catch a greased piglet in a crowded marketplace. Now we're off to Japan, the land of the rising sun bullet trains and the Yakuza, one of the most infamous and influential criminal organizations in the world. We're talking about groups with a strict code of conduct, elaborate tattoos, and a penchant for violence that would make Quentin Tarantino blush. They're involved in everything from extortion, loan sharking, to drug trafficking and human trafficking. And the Japanese government, well, let's just say they have a complicated relationship with the Yakuza. It's like that friend who's always getting into trouble, but you keep them around because they know where to get the best ramen. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're heading to Southeast Asia, a region of stunning beauty-rich culture and a haven for organized crime. We're talking about countries like Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos, where poverty, corruption, and weak law enforcement have created a perfect storm for criminal networks to thrive. These groups are involved in everything from drug trafficking and human trafficking to illegal logging and wildlife smuggling. And the governments of Southeast Asia? They're trying to fight back, but it's like trying to bail out the Titanic with a teaspoon. Next up, we're heading to Nigeria, a country blessed with vast oil reserves, a vibrant culture, and a serious organized crime problem. We're talking about groups like Boko Haram, known for their brutal tactics and extremist ideology, as well as countless smaller gangs involved in everything from kidnapping for ransom to oil bunkering and internet scams. Imagine a world where you're constantly looking over your shoulder, worried about being snatched off the street or targeted by a sophisticated phishing scheme, and the Nigerian government, they're trying to address the issue, but it's like trying to extinguish a wildfire with a garden hose. Hold on to your seats, folks, because we're heading to South Africa, a country with a history as tumultuous as its landscape. We're talking about a nation still grappling with the legacy of apartheid, where poverty, inequality, and gang violence are rampant. From Cape Town to Johannesburg, powerful gangs control entire neighborhoods, engaging in everything from extortion, drug trafficking, human trafficking, to murder. And the South African government? They're trying to restore order, but it's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded while riding a roller coaster. It's a monumental task, and it's going to take a lot more than just law enforcement to address the root causes of this violence. Finally, we arrive in Somalia, a country synonymous with piracy, famine, and state failure. We're talking about a place where armed groups, fueled by chaos and lawlessness, hold sway over vast swaths of territory. From the infamous Somali pirates who hijack ships for ransom to Al-Shabaab militants who terrorize the region, Somalia is a stark reminder of what happens when organized crime fills the void left by a collapsed state. Imagine a world where the rule of law is non-existent, where might makes right, and where the only thing standing between you and a watery grave is a rusty AK-47 and a prayer. These hotspots are not exhaustive, and organized crime is a global issue, a tangled web that stretches across borders, cultures, and continents. It's a hydra with many heads, constantly adapting and evolving to exploit new opportunities and weaknesses. Law enforcement agencies and international cooperation are essential in combating these threats. It's a constant game of cat and mouse where the criminals are always looking for new ways to stay one step ahead. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean we should give up. We need to shine a light on these dark corners of the world, raise awareness, and demand action from our leaders. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content.